Welcome to This Explainer. So today we're taking a look at the Taj Mahal. Now, you probably already know it as this perfectly symmetrical, absolutely stunning 400-year-old monument. But honestly, it's so much more than just a pretty building. It's this massive, tangible mystery of architecture and human emotion just waiting to be unraveled.
It really makes you wonder, right? Is the Taj Mahal just the ultimate romantic gesture? Like, did one man's monumental heartbreak alone create this masterpiece? Or are there, hidden truths buried deep down in its mud and foundations? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out together. Okay, let's dive into our map of mysteries for today. We'll start with the love, grief, and vision that sparked the whole thing, look at the impossible construction and the science of its changing colors. Then, we'll uncover some secrets, chambers, and foundations, do a little fact-checking on those famous Taj myths, and wrap up with preserving its eternal legacy.
Section 1. Love, Grief, and Vision. So to really get this building, you have to understand the profound, almost devastating emotional core of the story. Back in 1631, the Mughal Empire was literally at the absolute peak of its wealth and power. The emperor, Shah Jahan, his real name was Khurram, by the way, he seemingly had it all. But then, total tragedy. His beloved third wife, Mumtaz Mahal, died while giving birth to their 14th child after 19 years of marriage. Historical accounts say Shah Jahan was entirely shattered. This single heartbreaking moment triggered a 22-year obsession to build a tomb unlike anything the world had ever seen. And, the tragic irony? This whole timeline ends in 1658 with Shah Jahan imprisoned in Agra Fort by his own son, Aurangzeb. He spent his final years literally just looking out at the Taj Mahal through a tiny window.
Moving right along to Section 2, the impossible construction. Trying to turn that immense, heavy emotional grief into a physical reality, that was a monumental logistical nightmare. And remember, they did this entirely without modern technology. The financial cost of all this grief was about 32 million Mughal rupees back in the 17th century. But historians and economists will tell you that number is it's practically meaningless today. The Taj Mahal is literally priceless. And why is that? Because the exact human skills, that unbelievable patience, the flawless perfection of those artisans, it simply cannot be recreated today. Honestly, no matter how many billions of dollars you throw at it, you just can't buy that kind of craftsmanship anymore.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer mind-boggling scale of their 17th century supply chain. We're talking an army of 20,000 artisans, stonecutters, and inlay artists, pulled in from across India, Persia, and Central Asia. Imagine trying to coordinate over 1,000 elephants just to transport materials. They hauled this brilliant, blinding white Makrano marble from hundreds of miles away in Rajasthan, plus red sandstone all the way from Fatehpur Sikri. And this entire continent-spanning operation was masterminded by the chief architect, Ustad Ahmad Lahori. And the detail work, wow, it is just mesmerizing. They used this incredible technique called pietra dura. The artisans basically took 28 different types of rare gems. I'm talking things like Tibetan turquoise, Afghan lapis lazuli, and Sri Lankan sapphire, and inlaid them directly into the white marble. They did this with such unbelievable pinpoint precision that if you close your eyes and run your hand over it, the surface feels entirely smooth. It's almost like the gems just naturally grew inside the stone. Crazy, right?
All right, Section 3, Science of Changing Colors.
This is where the monument totally transcends basic architecture and becomes this breathtaking natural phenomenon. It's pure science at work here. See, that specific Makrana marble they used has an incredibly high calcium carbonate purity. So instead of absorbing light, it reflects it like a giant mirror. In the morning, when the sun is low, it casts this really soft, light pink hue. Catch it at noon, under harsh, direct sunlight, it is a brilliant, almost blinding white. During the golden hour, in the evening, the whole building takes on this warm, golden aura. And under a full moon, no joke, it literally glows blue-white. Now, the architects might not have planned every single color shift intentionally, but they created an accidental masterpiece that gives the building 1,000 different faces depending on what the sky's doing.
But wait, the 17th century structural genius doesn't stop there. The architects actually built in these incredibly advanced optical illusions and fail-safes. Take those 4 iconic minarets on the corners. They aren't perfectly straight. They actually lean slightly outward. Why? Well, so that if a massive earthquake ever hits, they'll fall outward, safely away from the main tomb. Genius! Then you've got this massive, 73-meter-tall double dome, which is designed to create perfect structural proportions both inside and out. And get this, The beautiful Quranic calligraphy carved around the arches, it's physically scaled larger at the top. So when you're standing down on the ground looking up, it tricks your brain into seeing it all as perfectly uniform. I mean, just try to imagine calculating precise optical illusions and earthquake failsafes without ever touching a computer.
Let's head underground for Section 4, Secrets, Chambers, and Foundations. So as we move from that brilliant, shining architecture up in the sky down into the dark, restricted structural depths of the monument, we run into a major misconception. When tourists walk right into the main hall, they see these absolutely gorgeous, highly decorated tombs. But actually, scratch that. They aren't tombs at all. Those are cenotaphs. They're entirely symbolic, built purely for public viewing. The real, actual graves of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal, they're very simple, entirely private, and hidden away in a restricted underground chamber right below, which strictly follows Islamic burial traditions.
And hey, speaking of restricted areas, you've probably heard some of those wild internet rumors about hidden rooms, right? Well, the truth is a lot more practical. The Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, officially keeps 22 lower rooms and a few other sections tightly sealed off. But I hate to break it to you, it's not to hide secret treasures or ancient conspiracies. It's strictly for structural preservation and moisture control. Look, when you're managing a 400-year-old building, you just have to protect its core from millions of trampling tourist feet.
And that core sits on an absolute engineering marvel, the well foundation system. See, the builders had a massive problem. They were trying to build this incredibly heavy stone structure right on the soft, muddy bank of the Yamuna River. So what did they do? They dug deep circular wells straight down into the riverbank, filled them with a super strong mix of stone and lime mortar, and then capped the whole thing with a massive stone platform to evenly distribute that colossal weight. And here's the coolest part. That lime mortar actually undergoes chemical changes over time, meaning this 400-year-old foundation is actually stronger today than some of the modern cement foundations we use right now. How amazing is that?
Okay, let's clear the air in Section 5, fact-checking famous Taj myth. Because let's face it, with a monument this famous, the rumors can sometimes totally overshadow the reality. So let's do a rapid-fire fact-check using real historical and ASI evidence. First up, the super famous myth that Shah Jahan chopped off the hands of the workers so they could never build another Taj. Guys, there is absolutely zero historical proof of this. None. It was actually just a strict, highly paid legal contract that legally forbade them from working on similar rival projects. Second myth, the claim that it was originally a Hindu temple. Again, no widely accepted archaeological evidence supports this at all. Mainstream historians and the ASI firmly confirm it's a Mughal construction. And finally, the Black Taj. This is the whole idea that Shah Jahan wanted a matching, inverse black marble tomb just across the river. It was a cool concept popularized by a European traveler named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. But yeah, there's zero solid archaeological proof that it was ever a real, finalized plan.
However, there is one myth that actually borders on a very real modern concern: the sinking Taj. Remember that ingenious well foundation we just talked about? Well, it relies heavily on wood. And historically, that wood needs the constant moisture from the Yamuna River to stay strong and not rot away. With river levels fluctuating so much these days, there's a very real worry that the foundation could be threatened. Now, the ASI officially states that there isn't conclusive scientific proof of a sinking Taj just yet, but they are keeping a very, very close eye on it.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Preserving an Eternal Legacy.
We really have to look at the modern existential threats facing this monument today and what actions are actively being taken to protect it. Believe it or not, the biggest threat right now isn't earthquakes. It's something called marble cancer. This is the gross yellowing and surface damage caused by severe air pollution. Basically, sulfur dioxide and dust particles floating around react terribly with that pure, highly porous white marble. It actually became such a critical emergency that the Supreme Court of India had to step in. They strictly restricted polluting vehicles and literally shut down surrounding factories just to save the stone.
And honestly, it absolutely has to be saved. The Taj Mahal, which became a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 1983, draws up to 8 million visitors every single year. Just take a second to think about that number. 8 million. It is a true global icon. People will travel from every corner of the planet just to stand in front of it. And I think that just proves that its enduring emotional magic still deeply resonates, even across all these centuries.
Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. What are we building today that will leave a mark long after we're gone? You know, the Taj Mahal isn't just a pile of stone and marble. It is pure, raw human emotion transformed into an eternal structure. It's a massive testament to what we can achieve when driven by passion. I really hope this explainer gave you a totally new appreciation for the science, the crazy logistics, and the deep, deep history behind this wonder. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. And hey, keep seeking out those fascinating truths hidden right in front of us.